Welcome to this week's episode of the EBDB B&B Weekly Update with your hosts, Tim Sorrells and Brett Colleton. Welcome back. It's another episode of the EBDB B&B Weekly Update. I'm your host, Tim Sorrells. With me again this year is Brett Colleton. What's going on, Brett?
I'm doing good, Tim. Feel like we just recorded 30 minutes of great podcast. Here
Me
we
too.
are sitting in the same places, starting all over again.
I know. Don't you love it? New software for the new year. You think it's working perfect. Then all of a sudden it pops up. It's like your 15-minute free trial is over. We did not record anything.
I think everybody is going to be happy with the, our adoring fans are going to be happy with the new graphics and new transitions. So it'll be worth it in the end. But we do have some kinks to work out for sure.
It'll be fine. Also, it's a redo, so maybe that first version wasn't very good on my part. I did have that stutter halfway through and I stalled, and now it just didn't happen, so they're never going to see it.
Oh, there you go.
All perfect to them. So, Brett, you're back for another year. How you feel?
I feel good. I should have shown up to the draft, but I didn't. Still like my team a lot. And as we'll get into it, we'll talk a little bit more about how the draft played out. But my absence was not my downfall. I feel very good about my team.
In our first go through, we were talking about a podcast Brett and I both watched, the Rigor Fantasy Football podcast, and how during their live draft, they implemented some new punishment rules on here that we thought were pretty entertaining. So we'll maybe we talked like 10 minutes about that last time. We'll cut it down for this go around and come back next week with some thoughts that we have on it, since neither Brett nor I actually watched the full draft where we saw the punishments. But do you want to share the concept quickly, and then we can see if people even care about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a part of their draft, what they did was they picked out 15 or so punishments in order to allow for the members of the league to choose their punishment that they were going to have to complete if they were to get last in the league. And so what this accomplished was some of them are in their 50s and 60s. Some of them are in their 20s and 30s, some single, some married with kids. And so it allowed them to have a more diverse grouping of punishments in order to make sure that there was something that everybody was going to do. So actually in our brief absence, Tim, I went back and looked at it, and there were some people that took their punishment in the 4th and 5th round. There were some people who took it at the absolute last thing. Some of the punishments that I saw were eat 2 cans of cold soup, put vanilla ice slits in your eyebrows, no coffee for a month. The winner gets control of your phone case and background for a year. Some really good ones. I think it's a really cool idea to make sure that there's a little something for everybody and actually throw an extra wrinkle into the draft to see where you might want to take that punishment and what that punishment is, because you are drafting the punishment that you will have to do at the end of the year. So really cool idea, really fun. What'd you think?
I thought it was kind of neat because you get to, again, you're choosing your own adventure, so to speak, on what punishment you want. And it was also nice that when they were going through this process, they asked their listeners to send in some suggestions for it and told them you need to have a suggestion that Bill Simmons is actually going to say yes to, because it's a bunch of old dudes who own this thing and they're not going to sign off on anything outrageous. At one point, we wanted to do the Waffle House challenge where you sit there for 24 hours and every waffle you eat is an hour off. And that seemed really fun when we were 23 or 24. But now that we're 36 in this league for 10 plus years, it's no longer a feasible punishment. So It was kind of a cool concept. And you mentioned the phone case in the background. That's hilarious. That's like
so good.
It's not a big deal. It's just your phone case. But you're going to have like a Hello Kitty one with like a big cat ears on it or something else on your case, or just a silly background to somebody. So that's pretty clever.
Yeah, I like the idea of forcing the person to put their the person who ruined their season as their background. So every time they open their phone, they have to look in the eyes of Trevor Lawrence, who's the one who just absolutely tanked your season or something.
Right. I think it's hilarious. So we'll have to see what people think about it and if it's a funny thing to do. I like the idea of like it's a call your shot scenario. Whether if you're really confident in yourself and your abilities, then yeah, take your draft, take your punishment in the last round, and maybe you get one of three choices as the last one. And you could be the one stuck eating two cold cans of soup, or I guess in the case of somebody else, shaving vanilla ice slits into your eyebrows, which was amusing. Or if you're not confident, take a lighter punishment in the 10th or 8th. So it's
Yeah,
a good idea. I think it's fun.
absolutely. Very cool.
You want to get into the draft? We can talk
I
through
do.
this.
Let's go for it.
Cool. So I'll pull this up here. Like we said, you missed the first 8 rounds, but you liked your team. You were happy with how it turned out.
I like my team a lot. Yeah, I appreciate you jumping in, making sure that I didn't start the draft wide receiver with Brian Thomas Jr. and Nico Collins as my 2 keepers. That would have been, a mountain to climb with trying to get other running backs deeper into the draft. So thank you for that. But other than that, I've been looking into kind of draft strategy, and I think you pretty much nailed what I was looking for. I wanted a quarterback early, wanted to go wide receiver heavy. Being in a 2 flex spot league, I think wide receivers are super duper important, and there are a lot more of them that can fill up your team. So having the good ones was a strategy that I was hoping to employ this year. So super happy with all of my receivers. I like Jonathan Taylor. I like Isaiah Pacheco. Yeah, I'm very happy. So even though I didn't show up, the draft that I think I would have had was super duper similar to what ended up happening. How'd you feel about the first part of your draft?
I was pretty happy with it. When I could pick this spot at first, I got a little overconfident with how the draft was going to fall. I think when I was first doing my analysis and picking things, I assumed CeeDee Lamb was going to fall to 5, just based on the projections. So that's why I picked 5, because that's who actually I wanted in all of this. But then as we got closer to the draft, Jefferson started to get hurt, and he was falling down boards. And I'm like, oh God, like if I've gone and picked 5 and picked the last person on the board that I want as kind of that top tier of players, and I end up with Jefferson, who I wasn't excited about, I would have been a little bit bummed. So I'm glad that it worked that way.
For sure.
But I really did anticipate that Barkley, Robinson, Gibbs, like knowing our league, the 3 running backs are going to go right off the bat. Whether or not it's the right decision is to be determined. But just we place more importance on running backs than most people do, I think, in this league.
Well, and I think consensus, those are the top guys, and they're also super fun to own. Like all 3 of those guys last year were an absolute blast, super fun, highlight reel all the time, easy to have on your team. So them being 1, 2, 3 is not super surprising. It is interesting. I feel like the back half of the first round and most of the second is this group of like interchangeable wide receivers and running backs that could have gone in any, pretty much through to Breece Hall and Sam's second pick. That whole thing could have shaken out however it, however the dice rolled, however the cards landed, and I wouldn't have been totally surprised. So yeah, I think it was as chalk as you could get for 2 rounds. No huge surprises. No huge surprises there. I don't really think that you see a monumental surprise until Travis Kelce by Chris in the 4th.
Yeah, that was a little bit soon. And then Chris was mocked pretty heavily at the live draft for taking Andrews 3 spots later.
Yeah.
And I think he says, like, I'm going to put you all in a bad spot by taking too early, and then it's going to mess up everybody else's draft going forward. Which, if that's what you want to believe, then so be it. That's fine. I was certainly bummed when Danny got Tyler Warren where he did.
Yeah.
Because I was eyeing him in the 9th. So that was a bit of a bummer when I couldn't get him there. But I think I'd already signed myself up for the late round tight end game regardless. And I kind of do that most years personally, where I don't go for the tight end early.
Same. It has burnt me in the past. I in a different league, I took Travis Kelce in the first round. It must have been last year, and regretted it the entire season. And so I think I just have that PTSD from being a Kelce owner last year. If this was 3 seasons ago with Kelce and Andrews, that I think we'd be sitting here saying that's a great strategy. So maybe those guys have huge bounce backs, and he's able to play both of them and create scarcity at the tight end position. So that's it's a decent strategy. There's some there's some weight to it, but at the same time, those are the ones that really stuck out to me as kind of the big reaches up to that point. I
Yeah,
will say, sorry, if you want to talk about tight ends, I have one other observation on this group before we move on.
I had a thought for tight end, and it was more of my own dilemma. In the third round, where I took Hampton instead of McBride, I was really torn between the two. Right, McBride I have as the best tight end available since Lizius Bowers is a keeper there.
Yeah,
So I
for
was
sure.
really torn on like, do I take McBride or Hampton? And it was such a problem knowing that I'm not going to get my third running back until the fifth. That
Yeah.
was my issue. And like if I knew that Travion Henderson was going to be available there at the fifth, then yes, certainly I would have taken McBride there. But when it's Henderson and then Harvey are the next ones, like that was such a gap for me in terms of like expectations
Yeah.
that I couldn't roll the dice on that one. So it was a bit of a bummer. I would have loved to have a great tight end in McBride, just wasn't in the cards this year.
Totally. And that actually transitions nice into the thing that I want to talk about. But you're absolutely right. It feels like McBride and Bowers are uh, McBride, Bowers, and Kittle are clearly the top three. If Kittle has another season like he had last year, Sam's a Niners fan, and so getting him is as much a heart play as a head play. So I totally agree. I figured that there was no way I was getting one of the tight ends with there really being only two on the board and drafting at 10th. But you
I'm gonna
talked about
correct
him.
you. Sam's a Saints fan, by the way, and
Sam's a
Kittle was a
Saints
keeper.
fan.
Sam's a Saints fan, and Kittle was a keeper.
Oh, smart.
Kittle and Burrow were her keepers.
All right, cut that out. Cut that out. But you
Cut
did
that.
mention
Cut that.
Omari and Hampton, and that was the thing that I wanted to bring up. Is I feel like this year more so than most, the rookies I'm super excited about. I would have loved to have gotten Omari and Hampton. I would have loved to have Henderson and Harvey fall to me. Caleb Johnson could play a huge part in the Pittsburgh offense. Emeka Egbuka, he seems like a lot of fun. Ted McMillan. So there's a lot of these young guys that you had to take them where you took them if you wanted to jump on that train and be a part of kind of these expected meteoric rises from some of these young guys. So I was there were mock drafts that I was doing where Omari and Hampton fell to the end of the third round, or there was a possibility that I was getting both Harvey and Henderson in the fifth, sixth. But I think that this group of people is well equipped enough in their draft process that's just really never going to happen. These are the sorts of guys, the guys who fall are your James Cooks or your David Montgomerys, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard. Like nobody's jumping up in the draft to come get those guys. It's the young guys, the people that could really take control of their offenses, that'll move up in the rounds. And I'm as excited to watch those guys on everybody else's team as I am to watch my own team succeed. I think those guys will be a lot of fun to own, and I'll probably be coming for a lot of them in trades down the line.
Yeah, and we talked about this a bit with the group that was at my house for the draft on Sunday. That a lot of the people put such a focus on keepers that it just naturally bumps rookies up the list. Because,
sure.
like, again, they should be very good this year. The expectation is that they're going to perform, and rookies are kind of doing more than ever in a lot of ways, which is bumping them up. But then knowing that they could be an even better value for next year and the year after kind of incentivizes you to roll the dice on somebody, maybe a round sooner than you would have.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense.
Max and I were talking through that we were going through this, and he was bummed we kind of had this situation right at the beginning where I think he mentioned that he had wanted Hampton, and I had jumped the gun and took him in front of him, so we couldn't get Hampton.
Yeah.
And then in the fifth, I ended up Metcalf over McMillan, and he snagged McMillan, and was a surprise that I didn't take him there. And we were kind of the back and forth of just talking that with both of us, and you as well, being in that dynasty league, that we're kind of exposed to rookies very early in the year and kind of like see that potential and just recognize that if we want them, you have to go get them earlier than you would have. Like even Danny
my
went
last
back
comment,
to back Henderson and Hunter, which is crazy.
I mean, Hunter's a whole different conversation. I'm super excited to watch that guy play football, but I am also very happy to not have him on my fantasy team, as that's double the snaps, double the reps. There's a lot of I feel like it would cause me more anxiety than anything else. But my last comment on the rookies is I feel like everybody considered this to not be a super great draft class coming out, and yet all of the hype has been that these guys are showing up to camp and looking really good. Like they're going to be big contributors. So they've, I'm a believer in a lot of these guys in the way that I'm just not usually when it comes to rookies in fantasy. So super, super excited, super cool to see how they perform this year. Definitely, most of the guys that I'm excited about tend to be the younger ones.
And my last thought on rookies is just the situation that they're placed in. Like Hampton was going to be in a timeshare with Najee until the fireworks incident where Najee decided to blast his eye. And like, and then Ibuka would have been in a timeshare as like in a situation where Godwin was competing with them,
Yep.
and now Godwin's going to be out for a long time. And then same with like Trevin Henderson, he's taken off with nobody else to compete against him in the backfield. I mean, Ramondre can't hold on the ball to save his life, so
Totally.
like Henderson's going to thrive there. And then Tet, same situation. There's no other receivers in Carolina. So when you're the guy drafted in the first, you're expected to step up and be great. And then even the
Especially
lesser known
because
running backs too, like Harvey and Caleb and Pittsburgh, like both of them are in good situations as well. Like maybe not a top elite talent, so to speak, but they're going to be eventually they're going to be the RB1 in that
yeah,
role, which is valuable.
yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you. In the dynasty league, I have Tet, and now that Adam Thielen's gone, that's a lot of targets that are going to go my boy's way. So, yeah, these guys look really exciting, and I just feel like there's a lot of opportunity. I feel like you can, there's not a lot of people that are on this list that we're looking at here that are, you can't make a good argument for them both ways. There's positives, there's negatives that you get further down the list, but at the same time, there's no reason that most of these guys can't be in the top 10 at their position group by at the end of the year.
Right. We mentioned before talking about like the priority our league puts on running backs. Did it surprise you when you look at Brett Johnson's list that his starters are James Conner and Travis Etienne? And then looking at Lizzie, I mean, she went heavy 1-2, and then 4 in a row is receiver, and her first backup is Jalen Warren, who we just mentioned probably isn't going to be the number one guy when Caleb kind of starts stealing the show in Pittsburgh.
Does it surprise me? No. I think two things have to be true in every time you do one of these drafts. It's you got to take what has come to you and also try to do your strategy at the same time. So, without Danny and Lizzie here to defend themselves and tell us why exactly they were trying to get those people, but like I get it. Kyron Williams has been great in LA, and she may have been super surprised that he fell to her all the way. There are some leagues that he's going as a first round pick, and to get him in the middle of the second is huge value. Um, I'm a big fan of making sure you have an elite running back and an elite wide receiver 1-2, but that's just my strategy. I think a lot of it boils down to health and rolling the dice and getting it right. So it could be the kind of thing where you want 4 running backs. I think Danny has a nice breakdown of Kamara's an old stalwart, but that's going to be a really bad offense. So maybe he's the check down king and can gain a ton of points through that lens, while also having Henderson, who's young and explosive and may sit behind Ramondre Stevenson for another number of weeks. So having him is a nice insurance policy for at least the first couple weeks, while Kamara is definitely healthy and Henderson is still waiting to get his sea legs in the NFL. So I don't know, man. I struggle to jump in and make too many assurances, especially when, um, you know, who's to say at this point? But interesting strategies. But I can't knock it until let's give it till week 3, and then I'll start throwing stones.
Yeah, and I think Brett Johnson, the way it played out, like being at pick 4, he wasn't going to get one of the top 3 running backs anyway. So you have to go Jefferson or Lamb at that point. And
Oh,
then
100%.
I don't necessarily agree with the Garrett Wilson one. He could be great, but he's just not my favorite player. So he was off my own board personally. So like he's going to miss out on running backs in the first 2 rounds unless Kyron fell, which was unlikely at that point. So maybe he takes Kamara in front of Connor, but it's hard to say that you'd rather have a team with Kamara instead of Garrett Wilson. And I think you'd feel pretty silly taking Kamara the 2-7 with who else is on the
I
board for receiver still.
I totally agree. I think that's one of those places where I feel like the draft kind of fell poorly to him at that spot, where Garrett Wilson and Tyreek Hill are the same level of risk in my mind. Who knows how those offenses are going to be? Who knows how they're going to perform? And then at the same time, if you take T Higgins there, you're already taking the number 2 guy in that offense, and that limits his upside quite a bit. And if you go down the list there, the next quote unquote next best is Breece Hall. So if he is sitting there looking at it and saying, well, I think I can get a running back in the next round that is going to fit, if I can get Breece or Kamara or Connor in the 3rd round, which is a good guess because everybody that went 1, 2, 3 already has at least one running back. It's probably a good gamble for him to take a wide receiver there. Is it the right wide receiver there? It's not the one I would have taken, but I'm not going to knock him for thinking that, Garrett Wilson is hyper talented, and if they're maybe Aaron Glenn's going to feed him the ball in that offense, and he's going to have a huge year.
Could be. And I'm in the same boat where Breece Hall is off my board as well. I think just the Jets offense isn't going to be great, and Justin Fields is unreliable. So it's hard to say what's going to happen over in that one.
Breece was one of my keepers last year, man. Nope.
Poison. Yeah, he let you down.
Poison me off of it.
Yeah. So it's rough for him there. But looking at the rest of the teams, I mean, there's nothing else that really is crazy to me. It's just the draft fell the way it did, and they took the best available for at least for the first 9 rounds. When we get into the next set, 10 through 17 here, maybe there was some leaps that didn't make sense. But overall, nothing crazy. I mean, we'll get to Max's in a bit, but he ended up with Olave in the 7th and Rashid Shaheed as well later. And Shaheed's going to be his last flex, it seems, based on his current lineup, which I think is a mistake. But I think based on his reaction during the draft, he forgot he took Olave and then saw that Shaheed was there. It's like, oh, he's best available. I like him here. It's like, oops, I have both. Like, the value is really good, just not when they're on the same team. So a bit of a mistake there, but it is what it is.
Cool. Well, let's get into the back half. Let's see if we can't find some interesting stuff.
Find some holes to poke here in people's teams. I think the first one, I was mocked for Kyle Pitts there at 10. And I didn't like picking Kyle Pitts there, to be honest. I'm probably going to flex him in and out over the year. But I think my shot here is, and maybe you can tell me how you feel about London. But I think with how much they threw that ball last year in the new offense, with Michael Penix getting his feet under him, I think that there's upside for Kyle Pitts. So my opinion is that I'm going to take that risk for the first week or two, kind of see how he plays out. And then if it blows up in my face spectacularly, which Kyle Pitts has done before, he's been pretty miserable in past years, it should be pretty easy to pivot off to somebody else and play the matchup game every week.
I agree with you. I think that is an okay strategy. If you are going to wait in the draft for a tight end, you might as well roll the dice with maybe the most athletic person to play tight end, of this century. So it's not a bad dice roll. It's just the only heartbreaking thing about Kyle Pitts is the production doesn't back up the potential. And so to have him as your only tight end in a draft is mockable. Yes. But that being said, your team is not built around having a spectacular tight end. So if he goes and has 0 and is not a part of the offense and is not on the field, drop him, pick up somebody who did seem like they were going to be a bigger part of their team's offense, and hope that you catch that, Mike Gesicki or Jonnu Smith from last year, who was able to get you 10 plus points a week and round out your team in that sense. So I feel like Kyle Pitts is not the tight end that you believe in. He is the placeholder that you are taking until you find the right guy.
Right. In the 10th round, there's a few picks here that I thought were pretty good picks by people. And starting off the 10th, Chris picked Higgins, and I think that he has a lot of potential in Houston. Especially, I don't want to take a knock at your guy yet, but Nico Collins has an injury history, obviously, and hasn't made it through a full season yet. So I think that there's a lot of potential for Higgins to be really good. And then right afterwards, Max snagged Bill. And then grabbed Ayuk. So I think it's like those 3, I think is great picks in the 10th there, where Bill being on the board still at 10. Who knows? He might be nothing. But in terms of he could be a starting running back for Washington this year or be one of the main guys, I think that's great. And then Ayuk certainly is a keeper for next year. Like he's coming off an injury, so he's going to start slow. Brett will stash him on IR. But even if he does 0 this year, that's a keeper in the 9th, and Ayuk is probably going to be a 3rd or 4th round pick at the worst next year.
That's a really good point. I think 3 of those, this is a big keepers round because I think Jaden Reed could have a bounce back year. He was hurt for a lot of last year. Jamison Williams may become a bigger part of that offense. If you look at the target share that he had in the offense at the back half of that year, it was pretty strong, especially for a dude as fast and shifty as he is. And absolutely, Ayuk being fully healthy and on a well-run Niners offense, keeping him as a 10th round pick is absolutely crazy. So I
Right.
think you hit the nail on the head. The 10th round feels like it's going to be a good one for keepers next year.
The only knock on Jaden Reed is that he's already hurt and he's missed a bunch of
Yeah.
time. And then Matthew Golden coming in, I think that's the better pick of the Green Bay offense. And maybe I'm just too close to that team, like watching it more closely as a fan. But my gut feeling is that Jaden Reed's going to have a bit of a slow start until he figures out the injury situation. And Matthew Golden is probably going to take over. So I think
That's
that might be a
okay.
tougher one.
So Sam's got Matthew Golden and 2 other wide receivers. It's not my favorite wide receiver room, but at the same time, Jaden Reed doesn't need to start on that team straight away.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of wiggle room to see when Jaden Reed rounds into form. But I mean, what was that? Was it 2 years ago? He looked great. I feel like he was just gobbling up targets and doing a lot with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, getting him in the 10th is crazy. I feel like another one that stands out to me is the 12th round with Michael Pittman and Darnell Mooney, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman. Like that's a group of wide receivers that are at least Mooney and Pittman. Those are guys who have had real production and are in the 12th round is absolutely crazy. Especially Pittman's in a bad offense. Daniel Jones, not the best quarterback, but at the same time, if he's fully healthy and they're getting him the ball, he's done it before. He's put up incredible seasons. So getting him all the way in the 12th is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I think that everyone was so scared that of who the quarterback was going to be in Indianapolis that probably dropped
Totally.
his value quite a bit. But with oh god, what's his name?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. With Daniel Jones being the quarterback, like the mid-range check down was his game forever, and that's
Yep.
kind of like where Pittman thrives. But also there's downs. So I mean, there will be certainly a role available for them, and maybe Pittman's the guy. So in the 12th round, certainly a good pick there.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
what I thought was good, I'm going to go back to the 11th, was I wanted Eckler to follow me, and then Danny snagged him 2 spots before me. So I was bummed to see him pick there because my opinion is that Washington's going to put a lot more through Eckler this year, and I think him being the pass catching guy, so to speak, that he'll see a lot of value in that offense.
I have a
I was bummed for
ton
that.
of love for Austin Eckler. When he was with the Chargers, he was like my constant flex play. He was, a target machine. He's great with his hands. He's shifty. I am consistently surprised that he has fallen in value as much as he has. And now with, I feel like Bill is a complete unknown. Brian Robinson's on my team now as Christian McCaffrey insurance, which is wonderful for me. I love Brian Robinson, but you might be right. I think this is one of those situations where, I think everybody's really excited about this new guy, this fun guy. Everybody's really excited about this offense. And at the end of the year, we're going to be, not surprised when Austin Eckler has 10 touchdowns, 60 receptions, and like 1,500 all purpose yards. It's like, yeah, the Commanders are great. And he's in on every single third down, catching and running, and is in these shotgun packages with Jaden Daniels in the red zone. So yeah, that's insane value in the 11th round. I think that's awesome.
And this is just the part of the draft where everyone's taking their shots at who they think is going to be the up and comer or that rookie who could be something by the end of the year. So you're looking across this board and you're seeing all these names of people who, like Bashal Tutin, like could be great,
Yep.
could be nothing
Yep.
in Jacksonville, could be awful. And then
Yeah.
you keep going down that list, and it's like Luther Burden's there, Pat Bryant's
Trey
there,
Harris.
Trey Harris is there,
Yep.
Woody Marks is there, Noel Tillman, like, and then
Thornton.
Ollie Gordon, like
Yeah.
Thornton
Ollie
too,
Gordon.
yeah.
Ollie Gordon.
So there's all
That's a
these guys
pull.
that
That's a pull, Max.
there's all these guys that could be something here, or they could be absolute garbage. So it's you never really know. It's
I would
player
like
shot.
to pour one out for Danny and the news that Rashee Rice is taking a 6-game suspension. That what value in the 14th round, but at the same time to not even see him until week 7 is going to be, that one's going to hurt.
That's his keeper though. So that's
I mean, still,
yeah. I think honestly, him taking this is probably the best case scenario to be honest, is that he'll take it for 6 weeks at the beginning of the season, and then nobody's on bye at that point. So Danny's team is full. In theory, he has plenty of receivers to fill into that slot.
yeah.
If in fact they like, I think they said his disciplinary hearing was like late September or something. So if his suspension ended up being 6 games from week 7 to 13, that just means you're missing him in your playoff push when you have lots of buys and you need a body, and it's hard to put him on the IR at that point. So I think it's sad to see him go. It's frustrating, but I think we all assumed there was going to be a suspension coming. It's just a matter of when and how long.
Totally.
So
I
I think
will
this is probably
say,
the best case scenario for him.
for my money, I think Danny has the only wide receiver room that I would say rivals mine. His is very good. There's no real number one, but if Devontae Adams gets back to that space, that's pretty dang good.
So I'm going to say maybe Brett Johnson. The combination of Chase Jefferson as the 1-2. I don't love Garrett Wilson. We talked about that before. But he
Chase.
could be great. And then Ridley, I think, is going to be really good this year too. So I think
Pearsall's
that he's
got,
got 4.
it all depends on what the heck happens with the San Francisco wide
Right.
receivers. But at the
But Brett
same,
has 5
you're
guys.
right. Jefferson, Ridley, Jamar Chase. I totally missed Chase in the 4th round. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I think that he has the potential to have one of the better teams on it. And you were saying Danny. Is that who you're telling me? Or who would you say that you thought of the best one?
Yeah, Higgins, Adams, Hunter, Williams, Pittman, Rice, I think is really good.
I think it's okay. I'm not quite as high on that one personally. We kind of skipped past this, but while we're debating
Oh, fine. Maybe we should talk about
While we're
my wide receiver room with Drake, Scary Terry, Brian Thomas, Nico Collins, George Pickens.
Well, I'm gonna finish off Danny because he's been boosted up too much. I gotta knock him back down. I think Higgins could be really good. He always misses time though. He's gonna miss quite a few games. And then it's always scary when he's not the number 1 in his own team. So
yeah, that is.
I think his metrics support
tough.
that Higgins could be the better receiver, just as he's targeted more, but it's more in the mid-range game and chases that big play guy. So it's like there's metrics to say that Higgins could be really good. And then Devontae, the scary part just is that, do you trust Stafford to stay healthy all year?
I don't think I do. And Jimmy Garoppolo has tried to get Devontae Adams killed at least 100 times. And Devontae leaves the Raiders to go to the Rams only for Jimmy Garoppolo to show back up and be his downfall once again. So
So there's a funny video, and I can't remember what it was from. Was it from Hard Knocks or Receiver, that TV show Receiver or something that he was on?
Yeah.
Where he's like basically saying, I have to get out of here before this guy gets me killed, because like Jimmy's throwing murder balls at him, or he's just getting lit up by defensive backs here. So it's funny that like he's at the mercy of Stafford, who has a back problem where his discs need epidural injections, and then the backup's Garoppolo, who he left because Garoppolo was his QB and he couldn't stand him. So he could be really good. It could go wrong. It just seems like a little bit of a risky proposition there. But again, it's the 4th. It's a risk we're taking.
I will give you a shout out, Tim. I feel like you did the best job of trying to lock down next year's keepers with Hampton, Igbuka, Judkins, Luther Burden, Bryant, and Tillman. Your back half of the draft just looks like guys that, if you hang on to them, may end up being, the good stuff come back around next year.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it played out. It felt weird taking 2 Bears players, to be honest, but in theory, I think DJ Moore could be really good. I would assume that at some point Odunze or Burden is going to have to step up in that offense. Yeah. And I wasn't planning on taking both Odunze and Burden, but he was sitting there in the 14th. So I'm like, what the hell? I'm probably not going to start. Who else is here anyways at this point in the draft?
Yeah.
And it's nobody that's probably going to be on my team in a week. Like arguably Bateman, like he was taken around later, like he probably is the next player in ADP, but everybody else is just chasing rookies. So he fell to Cade next round. Again, value's great where Katie got him, but as my sixth receiver, like I don't think I'm going to use him that often, to be honest. So I'd rather just take the upside shot on some of these guys. I'm most excited about Bryant, though. I think that guy's going to be really good. And I've snagged him in Dynasty, too, so I'm maybe just a little bit closer to him than other people are. But he's already been talked about being the new Michael Thomas for Sean Payton's offense. And I think we all know how that one went.
That
so
would be
fingers
sweet.
crossed that turns into something.
Yeah, I will say I'm a little sad that I don't have any of my dynasty guys on this team. I was hoping to get a little bit more crossover between my three teams. It's just being at the back end of the draft like that, you have to reach so far to get some of these guys, and I just wasn't willing to do it.
Well, hit me up. I got 2 year running backs from Dynasty,
do.
so maybe we'll make a trade at some point this year. Once Hampton
We'll
gets really good and shows you how that he's the number one running back, you can pay up for him. And then we were talking at the draft that Chris apparently knows where the gold mines are in the 17th round. Like, look at the end of his draft. It's Bucky Irving as a keeper, Puka Nacua as a keeper.
Yeah, that's
so
insane.
Like he hit the 2 biggest late round guys the last 2 years. So the joke was that everybody else should be drafting Elijah Arroyo in their other drafts, because if Chris hits 3 in a row on this, that would be kind of hilarious.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's also super nice. You just like can chill at the back end of the draft. You get to be involved in all of the fun rounds. Then at the end, you're just hands off, letting it go for you. That's great.
Yeah, Chris ran off to the bathroom for the last 3 rounds and was like gone for like 10 minutes and came back to finish off his draft with somebody. So
I'm not sure that I'll be keeping Adam Thielen next year.
I don't know why you took him, to be honest.
Dude, target machine, man.
But he's going back to the Vikings now. I guess you didn't know that then.
He wasn't at the time.
Well, they were in talks.
Here you go. Targets 6, 7, 6, 7, 11, 10, 4 at the end of last year.
But that's before Tet came in.
Well, he can. It's the 17th round, Tim.
I get it. I just like
anybody who produces.
But the other option, point. Like you're never going to use them.
Think of this. I'm never going to use. Nobody's ever going to use any of these guys. Ollie Gordon.
Well, so what you're saying?
I was going to say, what I realize now is I should have just found any rookie. But at the same time, like I am 17-10, and so the rookies that are here are guys that basically got cut today.
I get it. No, I get it. But it was more of like I would have rather gone for an upside guy there than Adam Thielen. I mean, you're talking about receiver rooms and who has good rooms, and like you got a great stack there with Collins, Thomas as your 1-2, and then London as your 3. Like I'd say Nico Collins is probably your top rated guy, and he might be the receiver 6, 7 maybe in rankings. But then Thomas and London are going to be immediately after him. So you have 3 top 10 guys if you want to argue it. And then McLaurin and Pickens, I think, are both great picks too. Where McLaurin's going to come back from last year, but he's certainly a top 20 guy, and Pickens is certainly a top 20 guy as well. So you have 5 top 20 receivers there, and Palmer, who I think is more valuable. So it's more just you have so many strong receivers that old man Thielen doesn't need to be on there. But that's my one critique for you.
Oh, thanks, buddy. If your only critique is that the very last pick and Mr. Irrelevant was a not very good pick, I think I can handle that.
I wish you probably wish you got more running backs earlier, because Taylor and Pacheco, they're fine 1-2s. But when you're relying on Bigsby as your 3rd, that's where the issue comes. But again, we're talking about where the draft fell to you. Who are you taking otherwise? You can't. Like, you probably wish Harvey fell to you, but that's, again, during your auto draft time anyways, so you might not have gotten Harvey there.
Well, so I was back and forth between Bill. What I was really hoping would happen is that Bill and Eckler would fall to 11, 12, and I was planning on taking both of them. That was my big hope. Yeah, it was really like after I joined and saw the team that I had, it was let's roll the dice with some of these backups that I know at least are good when they see the field. And then after that, I was just, who do I like? Who do I think is going to be good? do I really want to pick Jerome Ford on my team? Not really. All of those guys at the back end of the draft that were actually drafted that weren't the rookies, Jerome Ford, Garendo, Rashad White, like I just don't want them on my team. That's none of those guys are fun to have to start on a daily basis. I'd rather play the waiver wire and find somebody who's a little bit more exciting, a little bit more fun in the moment than trying to hope that Rashad White can drum up 10 points.
Right. Yeah. Overall, I think that it felt like a weird draft in some ways where you're looking at teams and you can see that they wish things went different ways, but it just, again, value wasn't there and you'd be forcing it to take somebody else instead. So
I also
they
think
did the right thing by going for value.
I think 10-team leagues are a harder draft because I think you can try to target people, but better people fall further. Like people that are higher in the rankings in a 12-team draft, there's more people to kind of pick up the garbage that's been left behind before it gets to you. And so if you're, right in the middle of the draft and you're seeing every like 6 or 7 picks, and all of a sudden somebody that is supposed to be a second round pick has now fallen into the back end of the third, you're like, well, the rankings say that I should really take this person. And so you scoop them up when should you have really taken them there? Should you have just taken the person that you want? It becomes a much more difficult approximation. So I think looking through the teams, I don't think there's any particular team. Like everybody has everybody has players that I really like. Everybody has holes. Everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. It's not like, very obvious that everybody was trying to get the best running backs possible. I feel like there's good diversity. So we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be fun.
Yep. Well, that's a good draft recap. I think we kind of beat the dead horse there a bit, but you want to go into the quick preview for week 1 and just kind of talk through it? So these projections are fluctuating quite a bit. In my first type up of this, it was significantly different, and now I think these are quite inflated, to be honest. I'm looking at projections for everybody else, and a lot of these guys look a little bit high. I'd imagine that the projections are going to settle in and come down a little bit closer to week 1, but we'll see how it kind of plays out here. So the first one I had was Chris versus me with the 140, 143 projection for Chris. And I think that he's got a good team if he hadn't wasted his second tight end pick that early. I think he would have loved to have another person instead.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. It's hard to take any of these projections seriously because we've never seen Ashton Genty. We don't know what his share of the offense is going to be. Similarly, like Devon Achane, maybe they're trying to keep him healthy, so not on the field as often as he was. But I think this is a good matchup. I think this should be a lot of fun. I'm super excited to see Achane again. I'm super excited to see what Genty does. The only one that I am particularly legitimately cocking my head at and rolling my eyes a little bit is I'm not sure you can trust Xavier Worthy with 14 points out of the gate right now. I feel like he's such a boomer, but been such a boomer bust guy that to say that he's a consistent, on average, we expect Xavier Worthy to get. I wish you could do 2 different numbers. It's like either that's a 6 or that's a 21, and there's no difference.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he started off last year with 2 touchdowns on 3 touches or something. That's how he started last year off. So he's a very boomer bust kind of guy.
100%.
But again, with Rice being gone, maybe he does well. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, totally.
I think it'll be a close matchup, though.
It'll be super fascinating to see what the Chiefs' offense. I'm very excited for football in general, Tim, but I think it'll be really exciting to see what the Chiefs' offense looks like and how all of these pieces fit into it. I feel like that's going to be one that everybody's going to be scrambling for parts once week 1 is over.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to see how it goes. It'll be interesting for sure. There was discussion last year about doing the rivalry week, so to speak, where you start off the season against your rival, and I didn't really implement that this year. It would have been a little bit challenging for scheduling purposes to tweak it, but I'm glad that it worked out that Chris and I get to go against the week 1. It is kind of fun to have that family go to do it right off the bat. Our next one here, Lizzie versus Danny. Danny's is
Wow.
very TBD because he hasn't filled his positions yet.
There
So I
you
think
go.
that we'll see how it goes. But again, another pretty
Just
inflated score with Lizzie at 145, which I
yeah, I
think,
saw the
again,
first
it'll
number.
settle.
Crazy. Um, that being said, I like her team a lot. We'll see about the Denver offense and if that Cortland Sutton number sticks. Baker Mayfield is really the only big hole for me, and he was a lot of fun last year and stuck in a startable QB spot. So her team looks solid. I mean, she was crushing it last year as well. So that doesn't totally surprise me. And yeah, Danny's team feels better than this, but this is pretty funny that there's just two absolute holes that he has to fill currently. That's pretty funny.
Right. I mean, he deliberately didn't pick a kicker. So that was kind of a known play for him, which is fine. It makes sense to do it. We get it.
Obviously, the biggest discrepancy here is the number one tight end versus a rookie who we don't have any idea how they're actually going to fit into
Mhm.
the offense. So, like, yeah, in that sense, this skews Lizzie huge. But at the end of the day, Tyler Warren could play the exact same role that Brock Bowers does in his respective offense.
Right. And we'll have to see who he slots in there. I mean, he has Pittman who could go in. I'm not sure if I'm thrilled about Pittman, but otherwise it's Trayvon Henderson or Eckler, which I
Yeah,
think
that'd
are
be fun.
both very viable flexes for that one.
Totally.
Lizzie was very spoiled with her keepers with St. Brown and Bowers so
Oh,
late. I
absolutely.
think those are two great keepers to have. Um, I think my only critique, or not critique, is Devontae Smith. He could be really good, but I feel like he oftentimes gets overshadowed by Brown in games where it doesn't do as much. And that's something that really, if you really want to nitpick, you have to, like, it's a nitpick comment. But when
Yeah,
he's your last
but
flex, like, you have to be happy he's your last flex.
exactly. We're nitpicking her fourth receiver, a guy that I think
Right.
most of us would be happy to start in one of our flex spots.
Exactly. So this will be a lot closer when it's all said and done, and Danny subs somebody else in and gets a defense. But I mean, still, I think his receiver is going to get 12 points probably, or actually, yeah, it'll be maybe 12 more points for the receiver and then another 7 for defense. So I mean, it's still a pretty sizable
34 to
difference.
145. Yeah, it's huge. It's a
Yeah,
big gap.
it's a pretty big gap there. I think in the end, it'll end up being a closer matchup than it looks like, but we'll see how that one plays out. Our next one here was Alex versus Sam, and this is two of the lower scoring games here, which felt weird because they both have teams that I think are solid.
I agree. Some question marks. Nick Chubb as the number one in the Texans backfield. That's a roll of the dice. Matthew Golden, we don't know how that's probably a harder start in week 1 than it is week 7 or 8. Brees Hall, I feel like there's a lot of question marks on here. We don't really know. Does Aaron Jones still have it? Is Khalil Shakir going to be a big part of that offense? Zay Flowers, what does he look like this year? So this one is kind of a toss up. I'm it's really who shows up, but then there's you see Saquon Barkley on a roster, man, and you know that's going to be a big number pretty much every week.
Right. Yeah, if I had to again be critical of this one, I think 14 points for Brees Hall is pretty inflated. I don't see that one playing out the way the projection shows at this point. So
Yeah, it
I
seems pretty
wouldn't be as
optimistic.
excited for that, to be honest. And I think you mentioned Chubb as well. So I would say the two running backs she's starting there would be I'd be nervous about that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Alex's side, I'm not very excited about Shakir either, especially with the high ankle sprain coming into the season. So that might be one that I would be looking to swap out. We'll see if Alex listens to us, if he listens to the show. Because you and I, we have a track record of everything we say is true and factual, and people should absolutely do it.
We
So
are
we'll see if
very
he
good at
listens.
fantasy football.
Yeah. We're really good at telling people what to do. Well, actually, we'll see. I should have mentioned this in the draft. Some people, I will leave them unnamed in our league. I got 3 different messages from people asking how they figured out what other keepers were being declared by other teams. And I said, like, you don't know until they actually select them and log them in there. But I was trying to be nice. I'm like, but this is my own notes of like who I think they're keeping.
Yeah.
And it also had the notes on their team of who I thought they should keep. And it's like, I'm glad you mentioned my team too, because then it gave me tips of like who I should keep. So that was like 3 people who
Oh, it's
did
great.
that. So I will not name their names
Hey,
on here.
it's an interesting format. Sometimes you need a little bit of help.
Yep.
It's not always
Yeah.
obvious.
So we'll see how that one plays out. I think
Cool.
I don't know. After last year, where Alex Sweet joked that he was the fake team, and Brett loved calling his team fake. Not you, Brett Johnson.
I
We'll
know.
see if Alex can redeem himself this year with a team that's actually strong and doesn't kind of skate by playing the worst team 3 weeks in a row, just barely beating them. So we'll see. Next one here is Katie versus Brett, and this is another pretty high scoring one here. Katie had a rough go last year, mostly bad injury luck, which was really unfortunate. Losing CMC right off the bat as maybe the 101. That's certainly tough.
Really hard.
She looks primed to come back though with a stronger roster.
Yeah, I like this team a lot. I think Javonte Williams is being slept on a little bit. People seem to think that the Cowboys offense is going to be a lot better this year. Dak's back and healthy. George Pickens taking some, vertical pressure off of the offense. So, he has, I think, Tony Pollard-esque upside when we were all super excited about what he might do in that offense. So, Chuba Hubbard was super consistent last year. That offense, I think everybody thinks is going to be a little bit better with the weapons that they have as well. Bijan's an absolute stud. Yeah, this is going to be a fun matchup for sure. I think with Brett, it's just Etienne and Wilson are the two big question marks for me, but I like his team a lot beyond that. I think Herbert's a little iffy, but with the rest of that team constructed the way that it is, maybe he's, just trying to find, similar to the way you are with Kyle Pitts, just trying to find the right tight end. He's just trying to find the right quarterback, and it's okay starting with Herbert because he's going to take care of the ball. He's going to make the right decisions. He's going to do pretty well. Not the giant numbers that somebody like Jalen Hurts is going to do, but not too bad either.
I think Herbert will do better than the 16.5 he's projected for. He'll probably be the 18 or 19 points a week kind of routine. So I think he'll do better than projected. On Katie's team, you kind of mentioned it a bit that Javonte is he's a bit of an unknown over there.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't play well and choose to bench him, I think Jawan Jennings is a very viable person to come in and be very, a valuable player in your flex spots because he could be the number one guy in San Francisco, which certainly is a valuable position to have. So
He does have really good chemistry with Brock Purdy for sure. It's been borne out time and time again, but at the same time, he has a calf injury. He is looking for more money, and his calf injury may have to do with that. But if he's fully healthy, if the Niners decide to cut him a check, he could be a huge part of fantasy this year as well.
I don't think the Niners are cutting him a check. I think they're threatening to put him on IR if he doesn't come. And then I was just listening to a different podcast last night, and they were talking about how most of his contract is performance bonuses tied to playing time.
Yep.
So if he goes on IR, it pretty much guarantees that he's not going to get his $2 million bonus check out of this. So they're basically threatening to say, you don't show up, you're going to make $2 million
We're
less.
not going to pay you. Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty funny.
It's funny that they just play hardball with people. Like, don't you guys want to win? Why don't give him a reasonable deal? Find a middle ground here.
I'm just here to watch.
Team, Brett. Tell him.
I'm just here to watch.
Tell him. Call your shot here on this. How soon in the season does Brett have to trade one of his stacked receivers for a running back? How many bad weeks of ETN?
Running backs are kind of scarce. I think he starts shopping. Week 3. But knowing Brett, I don't think he ever pulls the trigger.
We'll see. Everybody else can put their comments on that one and see if Brett Johnson's ever going to get a trade done.
Yeah, I don't think so.
For running back here. I think he will. I think he's going to have to because ETN, I don't know. I'm still partial to ETN. I think he could be good. I just think the odds of him being good are you have a 30% chance of being a startable running back and a 70% chance of being subpar or abysmal.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's kind of the way I see it. We'll see. I think your week 3 is probably a safe assessment, but I do think he's going to get a deal done with somebody when it's all said and done.
All right, let's hope so. More trades. Team, more trades.
We need it. Did I mess this up?
You did.
I put 2 Brett J's. I did. This is Brett C.
Maybe
Colleton's
it's Brett
team.
Just rules.
No. It was a nice try, but I think you airballed that one.
Am I projected to get the most points?
You are. This would be the matchup if we were doing well. Maybe not, because Max has no defense, so I think he will outproject you if he started somebody.
He may. Yep, absolutely.
But again, I think this is all a bit inflated on this one. I think that it's going to come down when it's all said and done. He has a great team, though. I mean, McCaffrey getting him in the 7th pick, if it's all health.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I'm pretty pissed off that I am seeing Max week 1 because I think that his team fully healthy is super duper good, but is probably the one that is poised to suffer the most injury related setbacks from his important players. So not Neighbors, not McMillan, but like I don't know that Tet is going to start off. You know, it usually takes rookies some time to get their sea legs. Really the part that I think is a little misaligned here is David Njoku and Trey McBride only being 0.9 points apart. That's insane to me. I fully expect Trey McBride to be in the 15 to 25 points every week, whereas Njoku I feel is more like a 5 to 15, maybe 20 on a good day sort of range. So yeah, these projections throw me off quite a bit, but at the same time, I think Max's team is really good. I pray for Christian McCaffrey to stay healthy all year long for my mental health and well-being. But at the same time, I think this is going to be a super good matchup. You know, this is the championship rematch. I don't know if you did this on purpose, but
No.
I think another good one that you know should be a lot of fun to watch throughout the first weekend.
Yeah, the questions for Max's team will be: is Malik Neighbors healthy? The combination of I think he's got two injuries going on right now. I should double check what it actually is. I thought an ankle injury and a back injury is what he was looking at.
Brutal.
Toe and shoulder is what it is.
Oof.
Toe, shoulder, and back.
Wow.
Is what it is.
Brutal.
So they say that the back is a minor thing, but I think he's had a toe injury since last year. So you don't love that one of your best receivers is going to start the year banged up a little bit.
Yeah. And who knows about McCaffrey's Achilles is. Chase Brown plays like 90% of snaps in the Bengals offense. A lot of health questions with that team.
In Olave, is his brain going to survive? I feel bad for that dude. Like one more concussion, he's probably out of the league.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a really tough one when it's all said and done.
Super
but I do think this will probably be the highest scoring matchup of the week, just looking at your two teams. And it's unfortunate that you're running into CMC in week 1, because if you played CMC in week 7, there's a good chance that you're not going to see him fully healthy with the way
Agreed.
Things have shaken out the past few years.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but you know, you do what you can. Play the people in front of you.
Exactly. So I think it's going to be a close one here. Well, looking back at these teams here, is there anybody you think is going to be, I guess, preseason prediction? Who's first? Who's last? I'm
first, both subjectively and objectively. And I don't have a pick for last. I just don't think we have enough information to see. Yeah, I won't speculate about last, but I feel very good and very confident and very strong about my team. So I will happily say that at the end of the year, I plan on winning this league the same way that I planned to last year and fell short. But yeah, I like my team a lot. So I feel pretty good about saying that I think I will be number 1 and come at me. See me on the field.
I can't believe you're chickening out on picking a loser. That's so cowardly of you.
I took the draft list down, so I don't have everybody's teams pulled up in front of me. That's the only reason.
Okay, fine. Whatever, if you say so. I have to say that I think that your team is very good. I think that Max might slowly edge you out in terms of the overall strength of the team. So I think that I think that he's going to be up there. I mean, I certainly give you a top 3. No argument there on that one. You can make a case for 2. If I had to pick losers of this year, I think it's mostly going to be because of injuries or something weird happening.
Oh, as it always is.
I'm going to say if I had to take a shot on something not going according to plan, it's going to be Brett or Lizzie. And part of it is just because they're so shallow at running back that they can make a move, but Arlita doesn't trade that much. if they get into a position where they're left and nobody will trade with running back to them, and now they don't have somebody there who's put up 6-7 points a week, that's a pretty big hole. So I think that like it's almost predicting what's going to happen with an injury, but running backs just get hurt. And last year, like they're always saying that it was the least injured year in the past like 15 years for running back injuries for a top 24 running back. It's almost guaranteed that we're going to have injuries again, and we're not going to see that level of health. So that's my prediction, is that the injury bug is going to hit them with one of their top guys, and then it's going to be a problem. Like
it never feels good when you pick up like a Justice Hill off the waiver wire and Derrick Henry is still fully healthy. And you're like, oh, cool. This guy who's going to see 25% snap share and maybe catch 3 passes. And I'm hoping for the best with those 3 passes. So I totally agree. The randomness is the thing that always gets you. And we'll just have to see how it shakes out. I'm super pumped, dude. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It is. Last thoughts on those teams. Connor is Brett's number 1. That dude's never made it through a full season, I feel like. Old man James Conner, like he's bound to miss a game or two, and then Etienne's number 2.
Let's pray for health for all of the oft-injured running backs and wide receivers and quarterbacks out there. I would love nothing more than for 0 people to get hurt this year. But that is part of the game as you play it, is trying to figure out what to do when your team falls apart because of somebody's pulled hamstring.
Yep. And you don't play fantasy football in spreadsheets. If you could just cash it in from day one based on what the projections were for the whole year, it wouldn't be any fun. So
correct.
You need a little bit of turmoil. You need something to mix it up. Gotta have fun. Like
I said, I'm excited. Should be a lot of fun.
I know. Any last thoughts for the season before we kick it off?
Not at all. I can't wait to have football back. I'm so tired of preseason rumors and just keeping my fingers crossed that nobody gets hurt before the season starts. And I'm driving up to Sacramento for another fantasy in-person draft this weekend, and excited to watch Arch Manning start off his maybe one and only season as the Longhorn starter on Saturday. So should be a lot of fun. You know, this is the beginning of I was going to say my favorite part of the year, but it's most of the year. So I just pray that we can keep our wives happy with us and still be good fathers at the end of all of this.
Yeah, and in Lizzie's case, Trevor's the one who has to bear with us. He was it was funny seeing him at the draft last week because he came over with Roman, and the joke was like Lizzie and Trevor hadn't agreed on what time they were going home. Like if they were going to eat dinner with people after the draft, or if they were leaving like as soon as the draft ended.
And so it begins. The question
of like, right. And I'm like, so like food's ready. Like, do you want me to have like everything out so that way you can eat before the draft? Or do you want to eat after the draft? And look at Trevor's face when you heard after the draft. He's like, we're not leaving when the draft ends.
Oh, it's so good.
So he's not, I don't think Trevor's ready for football season yet. He's going to be in for it.
Well, let's pray for him and all of our partners that are going to have to do a lot of weekend parenting while we half-ass it at best.
I know. I mean, Trevor makes Lizzie do a lot of stupid shit, so this is kind of the payback for all the nonsense that he makes her do. So it's even. Like you said, balance. We will all find our balance.
All right, man. Well, let's do this again next week.
Sounds good, man. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening in. I don't know. Are they going to email us? Tell us things? Tell us what you want.
Not yet. Let's gather. I'll gather the punishments that they did and when people took them to give a more rounded picture, and then we'll propose it and people can start sending in punishments.
And I want to see who our guests are going to be this year. Last year we had Brett Johnson join us. We'll have to see if anybody else wants to come on.
It'll be a blast.
Banter for an hour.
Yeah, join us.
An hour. All right, man. Well, let's wrap it up. Good to see everybody. Come back next week for the next week's episode.
All right, dude.
Good night.
See you next time.